Welcome back to Crazy Brave Homeschool. My name is Ashley and I'm a homeschool mom to a second grader and a TKer. And in this video, so many changes. All right, so I wasn't really planning on giving like an update this soon because I did my mid-year update, but we have had like back-to-back changes within just the last week or so. And so I've been excited to let you guys know what's going on with all that. Thankfully, there are no changes with our math or language arts. Not really, I'll get to one. But thankfully, those core subjects have just like stayed tried and true for us this year. For the most part, we've added in a little bit, but those subjects right now are untouched. Thank goodness. The one big change though that we have included with our language arts is we hired a tutor for my second grader. And as some of you know that have followed our homeschool journey, my second grader, I started teaching phonics a little bit later because we unschooled kindergarten. And so, she has had a bit of a rough time just kind of, getting to fluency. So it's definitely been a journey for us, but it's going well. She's making such wonderful progress. However, our charter school notified us that we were getting extra funding. So I thought this is a great opportunity to use this gift to get her a tutor and to just try it out and see how it goes. So we actually just started today. We're doing 60 minutes a week with a graduate student, and hopefully it'll go great. I'm really hoping that with this added support, it will just like get her over this hump that we are so close to getting over, and that it's just gonna help me out a lot because I'm definitely feeling tired of phonics. So anyway, that's the big change with our language arts, but it's definitely a really positive change. So the big changes that I'm going to talk to you about today are with our science. No surprise. Our science typically fails, it seems, and with our social studies. So before I hit the changes, I'm just going to mention a couple new things that are going really well for us right now. So we are doing a Black History Month through Beautiful Feet Books. They have this like mini unit of 6 picture books and this mini guide of discussion questions, and they offer some links to do a little bit more deep diving, and there are actually a couple of activity suggestions in here, so it's a little bit more than I thought it was. But the picture books, it came with 6, and I'm just showing you these ones because these are the ones that we've done so far. We just started this at the beginning of last week, and I was really only going to do 1 or 2 books a week. But my daughter is just like loving these and wanting more. So we might actually do what came with it, and then I might need to get some more from the library. So we have a few more of those to read, but it's going really well. Let's just jump into a couple other things we've added in. So we started the Tuttle Twins, and we read 2 of these. We haven't read this one yet. The first one, The Miraculous Pencil, was awesome. The second one was all about inflation and the Federal Reserve. I think that one started to go a little over her head. She was just starting to seem a little bored by it. She loves money, so I thought she'd be into it. But I do think these books could be revisited later. I was going to do all 6 of the ones that I have, but I might kind of taper off a little bit. I feel like these might be a little more geared towards like 4th grade, 3rd grade even. I don't think it's necessarily too early to start them now, but I think she's going to get more out of them when she's a little bit older. But I might revisit another one here in a few weeks and see how it goes. This is kind of fun. We brought Mad Libs into our morning basket. Have you guys done this? I'm sure you have. This is a really fun way to learn parts of speech, and the kids have just been like splitting a gut, cracking up over these. So before I even was introducing verbs and adjectives to her, it started with this. So they've been loving this the last couple of weeks, and it's made it easier for us to actually talk about verbs in our first language lessons, which started this week. We have been reading Ella Enchanted. This came from a suggestion from one of you in my comments. I don't remember which video it was. Yeah, we're about 2/3 through this, so I think that we'll actually finish it. We haven't had a lot of luck with chapter book read alouds this year. We've really only had one, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that went over awesome. But this one is going really well, and we're excited to watch the movie with Anne Hathaway when we're done with this. My daughter's into it. I'll say reading this is not my favorite. There's a lot of really silly language that like the fairy folk and the gnomes and stuff use. And I'm a little bored with this, to be honest, but I'm like trying to see where the literary merit is because it did win the Newbery Honor Book Award. But anyway, I'm just happy we have a chapter book read aloud that's going well. All right, y'all. So let's jump into some of these changes. The first one I want to talk about is our science change. I knew that this was going to be a risk. I knew that my daughter doesn't like the anthropomorphic thing with books with the talking animals, but I really wanted to try Burgess because it's highly regarded in the Charlotte Mason community and with Ambleside Online, and so I thought that we would just give this a shot. She was tolerant for a few weeks, and then by week 4 it was really getting rough, and so for week 4 and 5 and 6 I did an audio version of it, thinking maybe like the inflections in the voice of the audio recordings might be a little better, but she just can't stand it. And so like the thing is that if she's not liking the story, she's not going to be retaining a lot of the details of the birds in this. So what I'm doing is switching this out for Arabella Buckley. I had already had this because I was thinking that maybe we were going to need to do a switch. So I think she's going to like this because this just, it's not written so much like a story. There's no talking animals, but it is written in I think a fairly compelling narrative that I think just introduces more facts about birds that Poppy will probably get a little bit more out of. And she is an auditory learner, and so like she's great being read to, but you know, obviously she's got to be into the content. So there are some cool classic illustrations in this. This is an old book, and it's like not broken up. So the chapters in this are very much broken up by like different types of birds. This is broken up a little bit differently by like beaks and nests and birds of prey and migration and baby birds and bird songs. So I am going to follow this chapter by chapter, but it definitely won't work with the Burgess Birds Simple Studies Guide anymore, unfortunately, which we weren't really using much of this anyway. My kids didn't care about the coloring sheets. And I think we only got to 1 poem so far. We were really just reading mostly out of this and then doing a nature journaling. So unfortunately, I just don't think that this is going to serve us anymore. What I do plan to do, and I'm kind of thinking this out loud right now because this is just kind of happening, I'll read chapter by chapter each week. I do still want to use our really pretty illustration cards. Maybe I can somehow pair whatever chapter we're on in here with one of the birds in here so that we can continue doing our nature journaling every week, because we've really enjoyed painting or drawing these. And that's just kind of where I'm at for now with it. I am checking out a bird book every week from the library for my son. We do a read aloud with him and a narration for his little bird nature study. But unfortunately, this really puts a wrench into my plans for 3rd grade science because I was going to do the Burgess Flower book for children. And I was really looking forward to it because I'm very excited to study flowers and plants. But this is written in the same way. It's Peter Rabbit, it's the animals, they're talking about all of the flora. And so the stories in this are just not going to work for the actual study. So what I'm going to do, and I don't have it yet, but I am going to get Arabella Buckley's, I think it's Plant Life and something in Plant Life. I'm going to do that instead. And I already actually looked through it because it's in the library archives. And then what to do with my Under the Home that is paired with the Burgess Flower book. I went through this whole study and tried to kind of pair which Buckley chapters could work with each week of the Under the Home flower unit. And there's definitely several that will work. It's just going to require me to sort of craft a new curriculum a bit. And you know what I'm just realizing is that I'm really not sure that flowers are going to take us through our entire third grade year of science. I think that what I'm going to do is pair the Buckley book with this, perhaps do this for a third of the year, if it goes well. And then I have some other ideas for science next year. I am considering a 6-week wildlife rescue online course for my daughter. She's very enthralled with like animal rescue, wildlife rescue. It's like all of the videos that she likes to watch. And so there is an online course for elementary school kids. I can link that in the description box for anyone that wants to know more about it. I don't know if it's a good course. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I think that it could be really cool for her. And so that's 6 weeks, and I don't think it's very expensive, and it's under $100. So there's that plan, and then we are going to have all of our book seeds issues from Blossom and Root, all of their botany book seed issues. That's going to be, I think, 5 or 6, so that'll take us through 5 or 6 weeks. And then I'm just considering maybe trying out one of the science units from The Good and the Beautiful. I'm not like totally enamored by them, but my daughter loved their safety unit that we did at the beginning of this year, and I guess I'm just kind of going off of that. She loved that unit. I did appreciate how easy it was to follow the lessons with The Good and the Beautiful. She liked the activities that we did, so I don't know, I'm considering something out of their options for that. So that's our science, another bust. Okay, let's jump into social studies. All right, so what happened? We were using Under the Home history, Ancient Man. I wanted to try her history unit because I thought it looked really good. I appreciated that it had a teacher's guide and a student workbook with it, because, you know, I still need just a little bit of hand-holding being a semi-new homeschooler. But ultimately, our plan next year is to do the history with Ambleside Online, which does not have a teacher guide and does not have a student workbook or any of that. It's just books and narration, you know, so that's the direction that we're heading. But I'm like, yeah, I just want to try some history from Under the Home and see how we like it. Well, we didn't like it. Unfortunately, we only lasted 5 weeks with this. The first couple of weeks were really good. My kids were so into the Stone Age kind of period, and acting out the chapters was really fun for them. But then chapters 3, 4, and 5 just started to get a little bit drier and a little bit over her head. And I'm like, I so don't want her to stop liking history, because we had such a great 12 months with American Girl history. She's loving the Black history stuff. So I want to keep that fire going. This wasn't doing it. Also, the student workbook, I think this is the guide, but the student workbook was just poor quality. And so the copy work was too hard to see. We couldn't use the copy work pages. And I felt ultimately like the activities were just busy work. It just wasn't necessary stuff for her to do. I didn't see her like really engaging with any of it, or really liking any of it at all. So we set this down, and I thought, well, why don't I just start Ambleside Online now with a history? I mean, I have a second grader. I was planning to do year 2 with her next year, so why couldn't we just start year 1 now with some of those history picks? I'd already got all the books. I'm like totally set to go. Started reading through Our Island Story, A Child's History of the World, and This Country of Ours, as well as Viking Tales. I have all the books. They require a lot of history books in Ambleside, but they space them out throughout several years. So it's sort of an interesting take on a history rotation, to be honest. And I was feeling geared up about it. I was like, this is great. A Child's History of the World looks so good. Like, I started reading through this, and this is better storytelling than this, in my opinion. So I'm like, okay, this is gonna be great. I even made, and I'll put a picture here, I even made on our big whiteboard the timeline of ancient history, well, history, ancient history, Stone Age till now. That was at the beginning of this book. You can there's a graphic in here. And then I stumbled upon a YouTube video of, and I'll put her name here because I can't remember what it is. She's a Charlotte Mason homeschooler, and I found one of her videos why we didn't choose Ambleside Online, and I think they chose the Gentle Feast, and it was because of the history rotation that she wasn't on board with, because Charlotte Mason says that a child should first learn the history of where they're from. And obviously, the Charlotte Mason history started in Britain because that's where her students were from. So it makes sense that Our Island Story would be one of the first literature picks for history with a Charlotte Mason education. But just the fact that you were using a child's history of the world, Viking tales, Our Island Story, which is British history, and This Country of Ours, all kind of interwebbed. It's great for making connections. I don't disagree with that. But I just kind of thought, would it make more sense to stick with U.S. history right now? Charlotte Mason's recommendation was that a child studies their country of origin for Form 1, which I believe is 3 years. And then after that, it would be a neighboring country, which would be Britain for us. And then after that would be world history in Form 3. I believe that's how she broke it down. And so I'm sitting here thinking, man, we just got done with 12 months of American Girl history, but we just scratched the surface of U.S. history with that, right? There is so much more that we could dive into. My daughter enjoyed it. I have This Country of Ours, which, is scheduled differently with Ambleside, but I'm like, why don't we just read This Country of Ours and do continue with U.S. history for the rest of this year and then all of next year. And then when she is in 4th grade, we can do British history. Maybe we just do a year of British history with Our Island Story. And then when we're done with that, then we can jump into ancient history. And with British history, we could read Viking tales. And then world history after that with this book. So that just really spoke to me, sticking with the child's country of origin for the first 3 years. It feels really good, and it's where we're at right now with coming off of a year of U.S. history. So that's our plan. We actually started today with Leif the Lucky because I wanted to just, with U.S. history, right, he's the first part of it. So introducing her to a little bit of Vikings history before we go into This Country of Ours. I'm feeling really good about this. I'm excited. So we'll be starting this guy next week when we wrap up Leif the Lucky. Okay, so then something else that happened. This is the last time I'm going to show this, and I'm so excited because we've decided to quit Beautiful Feet U.S. Geography. I have been talking a little bit of smack on this program for over 12 months. We picked this up last January, and we're over halfway through, but I just have not enjoyed this program, and neither have the kids. So we were going to start it back up and finish it by the end of the school year. And I'm just like, why are we doing this to ourselves if we don't like it? So it's done. I am holding on to the picture books that came with it because there are a few that we didn't get to that might be really good. We'll see. Beautiful Feet Books has great literature recommendations. So I'm just unimpressed with the guide, but the books might be really good still. And so since we are sticking with U.S. history, I'm excited that we are sticking with U.S. geography, but I had to think, how am I going to do this now? I don't have the teacher guide. What do I have? And as you guys know, or you might know, I have so many geography resources. So I was looking through all of my big resource books. I'm like, I can put something together. This is going to be great. And I just with all those resources I have, I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to use all this. I just feel like U.S. geography is tough because it's boring. Learning about states and it's just coming from me, my personal opinion. And I don't think it's very fun. I don't care about state flowers or state animals, especially if I have so nothing to do with that state. It's hard. It's a hard, dry thing to teach. I think it is much more interesting to learn so much about the flora and fauna where you live, because I really think that that forms a true naturalist. And Charlotte Mason said, start where you are, you know, start very, very small and then continue to branch out from there. But with that being aside a bit, I'm trying to figure out what I want to use. And that's when Mary Barfield over at your one-room schoolhouse said, you know, what about the Hollingsea Hauling books? Or she said that that's what they're using. And I forgot that I had gotten all the Hollingsea Hauling books for next year. So we're going to start with Paddle to the Sea, which is perfect because in Beautiful Feet books, we had ended on the Great Lakes. So we're going to start with Paddle to the Sea. I've heard this is a favorite of the Hauling books. I even got, because I'm just kind of obsessed with having a little hand holding, I got this Paddle to the Sea, a guided study. I believe I got it on, I think I got it on Teachers Pay Teachers. It was maybe $12. And then I actually printed out the map from Ambleside because I didn't like the map that came with this. This is a really simple, short, like chapter by chapter. It just gives you some narration suggestions. So like it's just really short. Each chapter is like a few suggestions. So words to know, to go over a little bit of vocabulary. We have a geography vocabulary book. So like if we come across a word like marsh or lagoon that the kids are not familiar with, we can look it up in our geography vocabulary book, look at a picture, maybe add it to our narration notebook. And then there's map work, you know, locate Port Arthur, Fort William, and Thunder Bay. And then narration suggestions. So I like the narration suggestions because when my daughter's not like totally enthralled with a book, her narrations are pretty weak, which is totally to be expected. It's fine. She usually just gives like a one-liner. So then it's nice to have some suggestions. Make a list of all the food items you can think of that are made from grains. How important are these food items to people? Describe life in a northern marsh. So it's like open-ended, right? As Charlotte Mason would suggest. So there's no right or wrong answers. All right, so we are starting Paddle to the Sea, I think next week, because Leif the Lucky is taking up some time. And what I kind of didn't mention yet was that my daughter's tutoring is messing with our school day on Tuesdays. So we are like plowing out an hour of school early Tuesday morning and then hopefully finishing a little bit in the afternoon. But it's definitely throwing off our rhythm. But that's okay. Sacrifices. Okay, so we have the Hollingsea Hauling books. I don't know when we'll get to the other ones. I'll let you know. Something else though that I thought would be very effective for US geography is just some good old-fashioned memorization. So I was thinking, if I don't care about memorizing things like state animals and flowers and state motto and things like that, how can I just get them to memorize the states and perhaps the capitals? And definitely the abbreviations is what we're starting to work on. So I figured I'm just going to make it a part of their morning basket. We are going to do this every morning. I printed out and laminated. They each have their own map. I found this resource on Etsy. I didn't print them all out because I'm printing out the ones that we're going to be focusing on. This resource, I'll link it. She has a ton of flashcards, different ones that are labeled, unlabeled, have capitals. And then she has like a state information card for each state. And they're like really, you know, have these pretty like watercolor graphics. So I have a little bundle here for West Coast states because that's what we're starting with. That's where we're from. So right now, every day I'm like, okay, get out your dry erase marker and color in California. And then what's the abbreviation? Color in Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Idaho. And so that's what we're memorizing this week. The other little bundle I have is of the Great Lakes because we're reading Paddle to the Sea. So this will probably be the next little region that we'll focus on memorizing these states out of. So I am just happy about losing Beautiful Feet geography and just doing this. It feels really good. A couple other resources that the kids really, really love. Oh my goodness. This game, Ticket to Ride, our family has probably played 500 times, and now my son, Woody, has learned how to play. So finally he can play with Poppy a little bit. But this does teach a bit about the states. They mostly just memorize the pictures to figure out their routes, but it is, you know, technically showing a map of the US, sort of. And then National Parks of the USA, they've really been enjoying this bingo game. I wouldn't say that this necessarily teaches them much about the national parks. It's mostly just them matching what they see on the card. I'm trying to figure out a way how to maybe like use this in a way that could be a little bit more educational, like geographically speaking. So I'm going to think about it, because as it stands, I don't think that they're learning a whole lot about national parks or US geography from this, but they like it. One last thing to mention. Tell me if any of you guys have heard of this book series, Dear America. So I picked this up from the library because my daughter loved American Girl history so much. And I know that the history we're getting into now is quite different than that. So I saw these, and there's like a whole collection of them. And it's all about, you know, it's all about a young girl's perspective of going through some of these major historical events. So like this first one is about witnessing the Salem witch trials. And they seem appropriate for ages 8 and up, but I would say my daughter is a mature 7-year-old. So I'm considering, I don't know, I guess I only want to bring him in if I need to, but I just feel very aware that she loved American Girl history so much, and that this might potentially be kind of drier for her. So I just want to know if any of you out there have read these or liked them, or anything that I should be kind of warned about with content before I try them out. Okay. All right, you guys, I think that is everything. Lots of changes right now. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon. Bye.